Over the last year or so, I have virtually stopped going to coffee shops. I just couldn't take it. I couldn't take the negativity that seemed to be talked about every single day. It seemed like every time we got together, regardless of what the group was, people wanted to talk about the latest tragedy. People wanted to talk about the latest war or bombing or criminal trial or something they didn't like about the government or something terrible that had happened in town. People wanted to talk about negative things all the time, and it was just wearing me down, and I couldn't take it anymore, so I quit going to the coffee shop. Now, I don't want to seem like I'm never the guy who talks about negative things. I certainly do, and it's because I do that maybe I'm more sensitive to other people doing it. I've got enough negative ideas and thoughts rolling around in my head. I don't need a bunch more of yours or somebody else's. And so it got me wondering, why do we focus on negative things? Why, when bad things happen on the news, why do we talk about them? If those things happen to your child, you wouldn't want somebody else talking about them. Why do we focus on negative things when there's so many good things going on around us? So I started looking up some things, and I found an idea that I thought was really interesting. This one researcher said that we're drawn to negative ideas simply because they happen quickly. Lots of bad things happen very fast. The tragic things happen often in a moment, and they get our attention because it is so quick and so swift. By contrast, good things often take a long time. Peace deals between countries take years. Raising a family and raising your children well takes years and years. Building a career and earning trust in your community takes years and years and years. Those things are hard to talk about because they take so long. And so we focus on things that happen immediately. And often the immediate things are the really tragic, surprising, horrific things. And so we end up focusing on the wrong thing. This researcher went on to say that he thought that if newspapers could only report the news once every 50 years instead of once every day, they would focus on different things. If they could only report once every 50 years, they wouldn't give you 50 years of celebrity gossip or political scandals or things like that. If they could only report once every 50 years, they would report on the good things that happened in those 50 years predominantly. There'd be some bad things that still stuck out that were remembered 50 years later, but most of the things we dwell on aren't the really important things. And so this is just a very simple reminder, mostly to myself. The things around me are generally pretty good. My life is really quite happy. I honestly don't have that much to complain about, and the things that I do have to complain about aren't really that big. So to take a phrase from my father-in-law, he once said, "Don't borrow trouble." You don't have to go around wallowing in other people's misery. You don't have to make yourself miserable with everybody else's stories. You don't have to focus on the tragedies. In fact, it's not even good for us. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 says this. It says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Guard your heart. Fill it with good things. Don't fill it with horrible things. Don't fill it with fear and tragedy and awful stories. Fill it with good things so that those are the things that then overflow from you. Jesus said that a man's mouth speaks the overflow of his heart. So let's guard our hearts. Let's fill it up with good stuff. There's so much good stuff. Can we be the people to start a different conversation? Can we be the people to talk about things that are good and lovely and wonderful? Can we dwell on those things?